By the time the dust settled, Henry Walker was still breathing, but everything that made him who he was lay scattered in the dirt around him. For 30 years, Henry had been the man people called when a horse was deemed impossible. Montana knew his name. He spoke softly, moved slowly, trusted patience more than strength. Where others forced submission, Henry waited for understanding. His ranch sat quiet beneath wide skies, evenings filled with Linda's laughter drifting from the porch, Daniel's voice on the phone from college, the rhythm of a life built carefully and honestly. Then came the stallion. He arrived in a gleaming trailer owned by a man with money and impatience, a Dutch warmblood with haunted eyes, and a history no one wanted to explain fully. Henry noticed the signs immediately, the tension in the neck, the way the horse flinched at shadows, but pride whispered louder than caution. He believed in second chances. He always had. The day it happened, the wind was sharp and restless. A plastic bag broke free from a fence and skittered across the arena like a living thing. The stallion exploded. Sound vanished into chaos. Screaming metal, hooves striking air, Henry's body lifted, then crushed. The world went white, then silent. He woke days later under fluorescent lights, machines humming where his confidence used to be. Titanium replaced bone. Breath came with pain. But worse than the injuries was what followed him home. The barn smelled the same, hay and leather and dust, but his chest tightened at the gate. His hands shook. His vision narrowed. Panic arrived without permission. "You're safe," Linda whispered again and again. But safety didn't feel real anymore. Horses moved too fast. Sounds came too loud. Henry, the man who never feared 1,000 pounds of muscle, now flinched at the smallest shift of weight. Word spread quietly. Calls stopped coming. His name faded. The silence where purpose once lived grew heavy. He survived. Everyone said so. But survival felt hollow. Like standing in the ruins of a house that once held your life, knowing you're still alive. But the man who built it never made it out. No one noticed the horse at first. That's how forgotten things usually begin, standing quietly while the world moves past them. The auction yard rang with voices and metal gates slamming shut. Big, polished draft horses sold fast, hooves thudding with confidence as buyers led them away. Then Lot 43 stepped into the pen. He was massive but hollowed out, ribs pressing through dull gold skin, his mane knotted with neglect. His head hung low, eyes empty, as if he'd already accepted the ending waiting behind the crowd. The meat buyer lingered near the rail, hands in his pockets, patient. Henry stood apart, breath shallow, pulse hammering. He hadn't planned to buy anything. Being near horses was already too much. But something in that gelding stillness reached into him. Atlas didn't flinch, didn't fight. He had stopped hoping. Henry knew that place. He lived there now. The bidding stalled. Silence thickened. A final warning floated through the cold air. Last call before slaughter. Henry's chest tightened, fear crawling up his spine. He thought of hospital lights, of panic, of bills he couldn't afford another mistake. His hand rose anyway. The gavel fell. The meat buyer turned away. Henry felt no triumph, only a strange, trembling recognition. He hadn't saved the horse. He'd simply refused to let him disappear. At home, Henry kept his distance. No ropes, no halter, just food placed gently, then retreat. Atlas stayed far away, pressed into corners, watching with guarded eyes. Two bodies sharing space, both afraid of the next move. Days passed in quiet rituals. Wind through grass, the scrape of a bucket, long hours of waiting. Then one morning, the air still and pale with dawn, Atlas lifted his head. His ears turned. He took one slow step forward. Henry didn't move. His fear screamed at him to run, but he stayed. Breathing. Present. Another step. Then another. They stood there, the space between them shrinking, not conquered, but offered. Fear didn't vanish. It loosened its grip. Two broken beings, standing in the same light, choosing to stay instead of run. Healing didn't arrive like a miracle. It came quietly, in inches and seconds, in moments most people would miss if they weren't looking closely enough. At dawn, frost clung to the fence rails as Henry stood beside Atlas, his breath fogging the pale morning air. The halter rested in his hands like a question, not a command. Atlas shifted, muscles tight, old memories stirring beneath scarred skin. Henry felt it too, the echo of fear rising in his chest, but he stayed. He always stayed now. Slowly, patiently, the halter slid into place. No force, no rush, just trust, earned one breath at a time. They learned together. Leading became walking. Walking became companionship. Some days Henry's leg ached so badly he had to stop, hand pressed to Atlas's warm shoulder, grounding himself in the steady rhythm of the horse's breathing. Fear never vanished, but it softened, no longer a wall, just a whisper he could move through. The idea came one evening as the sky burned gold over the valley. Daniel spoke it carefully, like something fragile. What if Atlas isn't the only one? Linda looked at Henry, already understanding. Paperwork replaced fear. Phone calls replaced silence. Out of one saved life, a mission took shape. Clark Fork Draft Horse Rescue found its name and its heartbeat. More horses arrived, eyes wary, bodies worn down by work and neglect. Atlas watched them from the paddock, calm and steady. Children came too, small hands shaking as they reached for the giant who never rushed them. Atlas stood like a mountain, teaching without words that gentleness could be stronger than pain. Henry no longer trained to conquer. He listened. He healed. He showed others what it meant to move forward without erasing the past. On quiet evenings, Henry walked the fence line, still limping, still human. Atlas followed close, free from harness, free from demand. Not working, belonging. As the sun dipped low and shadows stretched long, Henry rested his forehead against Atlas's neck and finally understood what the years had been teaching him. True strength isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing gentleness anyway.